So there is this belief that real estate in Ghana, especially real estate in Accra, and in fact in several other African cities like Lagos, is overpriced. And this belief seems to come from two perspectives or two arguments. So the first argument some people make is that when you compare the infrastructure level in some of these African cities like Accra to the infrastructure level, the public services, the systems in other Western cities, and you compare property prices, you realize that the property prices in cities like Accra is in comparison expensive. So for instance, I saw these two properties online. So this property is located in Accra, in a suburb of Accra called Adjiringanor. So I consider Adjiringanor as an upper middle class neighborhood. And this property is up for sale for 350,000 US dollars. This property too is located in San Antonio, Texas, in one of the suburbs of San Antonio, Texas, and it's up for sale for 400,000 US dollars. So you realize that these two properties have very similar prices. Meanwhile, the infrastructure, the public services in San Antonio is much better than the infrastructure in Accra. The systems work much better. The road network in San Antonio is many times better than the infrastructure and the road network in Accra. So one will reasonably expect that the property in Accra will be much less cheaper than the property in San Antonio. The second argument some people make is that if you compare the income levels to property prices, it just doesn't make sense. So whilst residents of Accra are earning in cities, properties are being sold, they are being priced at and sold for hundred thousands of dollars, just like this one in Adjiringanor. How many residents of Accra can even afford that? So let me give you even some context. So the median salary or the median income for residents of San Antonio, Texas is about $60,000 per year. So I was not able to find reliable data on the median income or the income levels of residents of Accra. So let's just use the GDP per capita. So the GDP per capita for residents of Accra, or the GDP per capita for Accra, is about 2,500 US dollars. Now note that GDP per capita most often is higher than income levels. So for instance, the GDP per capita for San Antonio is about 77,600 US dollars. Meanwhile, the median salary is about 60,000 US dollars. So what this means is that residents of Accra may even be earning much less than the 2,500 US dollars, which is the GDP per capita. So what all of these means is that residents of San Antonio have a purchasing power which is about 30 times stronger than the residents of Accra. So from the perspective of relative infrastructure, the comfort aesthetics, that's the each of these properties in Adjiringanor in Accra and in San Antonio will give you. In comparison, it is fair to say that the property in Accra is expensive. And so those who make the argument that properties in Accra are overpriced, it's a plausible argument to make. They are not entirely wrong. Those who make that argument are not entirely wrong. But here's the thing. Many people easily associate the value or the price of property or real estate to factors like construction costs, comfort, aesthetics, and what have you. So true, these factors does influence the price and value of property or real estate. But the major driver for the price of property or real estate are the forces of demand and supply, just like many other economic commodities, especially the demand and supply for the land. So while Western advanced cities like San Antonio may have much better infrastructure than Accra, Accra also may be more densely populated than some of these cities because Accra is a major economic center of the entire country. And in fact, San Antonio is just one of many cities, many developed cities in the US. Texas alone, the state of Texas alone has several developed cities like Houston, they have Dallas, and what have you. So the US has hundreds of San Antonios. Meanwhile, we only have one Accra in Ghana. Agreeably, we also have Kumasi, Takrade, and perhaps Tamale. But Accra remains the major economic center of the country. So for context, San Antonio has a population density of 1,500 people per square kilometer, while Accra has a population density of 13,000 people per square kilometer. So you see the huge difference in population density. The truth even is that for fairly average settlements in many of these developed countries, even in Europe, have much better infrastructure than many places in Accra. So the high population density in Accra means that there is a high concentration of demand for land in Accra. And given the fixed supply of land, it means that land will be scarce in Accra compared to some of these western cities. And so we should expect that relatively property prices or land prices will be much more expensive. So what about purchasing power? So if, for instance, residents of San Antonio, Texas have a purchasing power which is about 30 times stronger than residents of Accra, then shouldn't that reflect in property prices in each of these cities? So it is important to note that real estate in Ghana or real estate in Accra is not only demanded by Ghanaians who live and earn in Ghana. So there is a significant demand of real estate in Accra by Ghanaians who live in the diaspora, who may be earning in foreign currency with a much higher purchasing power or a relatively higher purchasing power. Aside Ghanaians who live in the diaspora, multinational companies who operate here in Ghana with much deeper pockets than average Ghanaians also like to acquire property for their staff. So those we call expatriates. So if you move through Accra in areas like cantonments, airports, many of the condominiums there, you realize that many of them have been acquired by these expatriates, and all of these people add up to the demand pool. So while Ghana suffers high housing deficits, about 1.8 million housing units, scarce land in Accra is being sold to the highest bidder, to people who may not even have immediate use for the land or property. But that is capitalism at play. So these same factors of high demand concentration and high purchasing power is exactly the reason why places like New York City, Hong Kong, London have some of the priciest real estates anywhere in the world. So as we've seen, the reason why real estate in Accra appears to be overpriced is because of one, the high demand concentration in Accra, and also because of the somewhat skewed purchasing power. But there are other reasons, like the imperfection or opacity of the real estate market. So, what do I even mean by the opacity of the real estate market? So, much like many industries or many markets in Ghana, the real estate market or the real estate industry is largely informal. So there are only few public transaction records on real estate deals. And as a result, there is lack of reliable data or lack of reliable price data of property transactions. So what this results in is that for some property owners, especially those who may have inherited their property, they develop some form of emotional attachment to their property, that they set prices that are emotionally driven rather than based on data. And many people don't even like to use professionals in Ghana. We also have real estate developers who complain of high construction costs, and also sometimes they also have to provide services that in other western cities they wouldn't have to worry about. So sometimes real estate developers in Ghana, they have to provide roads, they have to provide water, and all of that. So all of these add to their cost, and this can also increase the prices of property. There are instances to where real estate in Ghana has been used as avenue for money laundering. It's because of this same informal nature. That's why this is possible. So real estate in Ghana is seen as a haven for money laundering used to clean illicit funds, and also this can also distort the prices of real estate. But ultimately, property prices are driven, or they are determined by or influenced by demand and supply, the force of demand and supply, which drives the market trends. So whenever you see a property in San Antonio, Texas, and another property in Adjiringanor priced similarly, and you're wondering why, just know that it's just economics at play. So my name is Evans, and on this channel I talk about real estate. So if you are looking out to deepen your knowledge about real estate, then I'll encourage you to look out for other videos on this channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video. Thank you for watching.